everyone, welcome to lesson 3 of my lockdown English lessons. I'm doing these just to make sure that we have some kind of English input or English content to keep us going until our English lessons start again, whenever that is. So let me give you a quick recap of what we've done so far. In lesson 1, we talked about the vocabulary we need to talk about this coronavirus and also the vocabulary for talking about a lockdown, the situation that we're in now. And in lesson 2, we talked about the present perfect and how we can use that to look back and say the things that we've done in a period of time that continues until now. So I can tell you what I've done. I've prepared a lesson for today, a simple lesson. I want to talk about 5 mistakes that B1 level English learners make. Now, most of the people that I teach are around about the B1 level. Some a little bit stronger, some a little bit weaker, but mostly it's around about that level. And what that means is we don't get to hear the real beginner's mistakes anymore. Instead, we do get to hear some mistakes that are pretty common at this level. And most of these mistakes are caused by what we call language 1 interference. And what happens is we use the logic or the rules from our first language, and we try and apply that to sentences that we're making in our second language. And often that can cause some problems. So just so you can see what I mean, let's get started with our first one. Word stress. Now, there are many ways we can say words wrong in English, but I think the most common one at this level would be word stress. And what do I mean by that? Okay, well, let's try some examples. Normally, I throw these words up on the flip chart or on the whiteboard in a lesson, and I ask people to say them out loud just to test my theory. And normally people don't get more than about half right. So let's try it. Please read these words out, say them out loud. I'll wait. Okay, ready? Hands up. Who said hotel? Report. Machine. Person. Mistake. Yeah? Anyone? Okay, you'd be wrong. And why? Okay, for the explanation, we have to get a little bit technical. And let's think about each part of the word that we pronounce separately. In German, this is a Silbe, and in English, this is called a syllable. A syllable. It's not so easy to say. Not to be confused with a syllabub. That's something totally different. Okay, now each of these words has 2 syllables. And the problem or the mistake or the difference between the native English and the learner English pronunciation is that learner English, we tend to put the word stress on the first syllable. And native English will put it on the second one. So it's not hotel, it's hotel. And it's not mistake, it's mistake. Percent, report, machine. It does get a little bit more complicated with words with 3 syllables or more. And often inside a word family, then the word stress can change between the verb, between the noun, between the adjective, and so on. So let's try an example. Let's imagine we apply for a job. So the verb here is to apply. Now again, it has 2 syllables, and the word stress, did you hear it? It was on the second syllable, to apply. Okay, so I apply for a job, and I then have an application. This is the Bewerbung in German. Application, this has how many syllables? Application, 4 syllables. And where is the word stress? On the third one. Logical, right? So I apply for a job, I have an application, and then when the company gets my application, I become an applicant. Yeah. So it changes between 2 nouns and the verb, all in the same family. Not so logical. But we do live in the digital age, and so we can go online to an online dictionary, and next to the word definition, you will normally find a little listen icon, a little loudspeaker icon. You can click on that, and you will hear somebody pronouncing the word for you. Perfect. But I hear you saying, Stephen, what if I live in the 1980s and I don't have a computer? Well, first of all, you shouldn't be watching this. But if you do, then if you go to an old-fashioned paper dictionary, I have a pocket one here, look. Yeah, if you go to an old-fashioned paper dictionary, after the definition of the word, what you should see is an explanation of how to pronounce it. It looks like another language. It is another language. It's called the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, and it's a language that tells you about sounds. It's a language that describes sounds. So it's simple. You just go there, learn another language, and then you can know how it sounds. So obviously not many people are going to do that, but if you do look at the word in the IPA description, then you will see an apostrophe. And the apostrophe always appears just before the syllable that is stressed. So this should give you a little hint of where the stress is. Let's try it with our words that we just used as an example: to apply, application, and applicant. Okay, here's to apply. And you can see that there's a little apostrophe in there in the IPA description, and it comes just before the syllable. And here again, helpfully next to each other, we have application and applicant. So our second mistake, false friends. A false friend is a word from our second language that we think we know because it looks like or sounds like a word from our first language. The classic example in German is mixing up bekommen in German with become in English, and that's how we get the classic mistake. I'd like to become a hamburger. Really? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Stephen, I know that. I'm a B1, remember? Yes, I know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little test. I'm going to put 4 words on the screen. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make 4 sentences using what you think the English translation of that word is. And we're going to check back at the end of the video. Okay? Good. On to our third mistake then, and this one is reflexive verbs. Okay, what is a reflexive verb? A reflexive verb is a verb where the subject and the object of the verb are the same. An example in German would be Ich fühle mich wohl. Ich is the subject and mich is the object. And there are lots of these in German. Ich fühle mich wohl, ich traue mich nicht, ich kaufe mich ein, and so on. In English, there's not so many, but there's one that I hear every week, maybe 3 or 4 times each week. And it's this: Wir sehen uns nächste Woche. And then we translate this into English as we see us next week. Okay, so if that's you saying that, please stop. It's wrong. What's wrong with it? The reason is in German it's reflexive and in English it isn't. It's as simple as that. So what should we be saying? In English we say, I'll see you next week or see you next week. If you really want to be very correct and include both people in the conversation, then you can say, we'll see each other next week. And in this case, the each other functions like einander in German. So on to our next mistake then. And this one is the word by. Now this is an absolutely classic language 1, language 2 interference problem. And I think really many of you don't even realize that you're making a mistake with this one. So let's try and fix this one if we can. This comes from our understanding of the German word bei, meaning at somebody's house or with someone. And what happens is we want to make a sentence. For example, in German, am Dienstagabend war ich bei meiner Schwester. Okay, we know what we want to say, so we switch that over into English. And we say on Tuesday evening, okay, got it. And then we just pop the by right in there. On Tuesday evening, I was by my sister. Okay, right? No, wrong. The problem is by in English means next to in this sense. So when you say I was by my sister, I think, okay, good, you were next to your sister, but where were you? The better way to say this in English is to say that you were with your sister or you were at your sister's house. Pro tip, often in English we leave out the house from the end of this sentence. We just say, I was at my sister's. I was at the hairdresser's. The hairdresser's what? Hairdresser's caravan? The hairdresser's barbecue? Of course we mean the hairdresser's salon. You might also hear American native English speakers saying that they called by or they dropped by. What this means is to visit quickly. In English we tend to use to call in or to drop in or even to pop in. Okay, so finally on to our last mistake for today. Mistake number 5, the possessive S. Okay, what is the possessive S? Well, I can tell you it's different from the plural S. And what is the plural S? Questions. Okay, so there are a couple of reasons why we put an S at the end of a noun. One is to show that there is more than one. For example, we have one Jennifer in our office, we have two Jennifers in our office. And this is the plural S. Another one is to show that something or someone belongs to something or someone. So Jennifer has a dog, the dog is a Shih Tzu. We say, Jennifer's dog is a Shih Tzu. And this is the possessive S. But what's the difference? The difference is the possessive S has an apostrophe before it. And I know what you're thinking again. You're thinking, Stephen, this is easy. We know this. B1. John's dog, Philip's car, Jennifer's Shih Tzu. We know this. Yeah, I know. Okay, so let's try this example. You have a friend, and the friend has a sister. And this sister has a colleague. And you got a nice birthday card from him. So when I ask you, oh, that's a nice card, who did you get that from? What's your answer going to be? Okay, based on my experience, I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, your answer is going to be, it's from the colleague of the sister of my friend. Is that correct? Sounds very German, right? Okay, in English, we would say, it's my friend's sister's colleague. Another way to think about it is this. In German, what happens is we start with the colleague, and then we work our way back towards us. We say it's the colleague of the sister of the friend of me. And we start at that end and link back to us this way. In English, we do it the other way around. We start with us, and we link ourselves to the friend who has a sister and who has a colleague. It's my friend's sister's colleague. Okay, that's the end of the lesson for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found 5 ways in which you can improve your English a little bit today. Okay, don't forget to give me a like or a subscribe if you found it interesting or useful, and stay watching to the end where I've got the answers from our false friends from earlier. Okay, in the meantime, I hope to see you next week. Stay home, stay safe, stay healthy.